is going on, Washington football team fans? Another podcast / video coming at you from the Washington Football Report. My name is JD. We're going to dive right into this. Before I do, please hit that subscribe button, notification bell. You get videos and podcasts like this all the time, depending on which medium you have. If you are on podcasts, comment on the YouTube if you could. It's the same name, just not the podcast included. On YouTube. That way I know that people are actually subscribing to this. I have a bunch of subscribers from before, from like 2 years ago when I made the Redskins Rant podcast, and I don't know if it's been adding any. So, other than that, we're going to dive into this. So, Washington has a pretty important game this week. It really is going to be a measuring stick for what the rest of the season is going to kind of show a little bit. There are a couple franchises in the NFL. There's about 10 that are legit Super Bowl contenders, or at least see themselves as one. Washington is a legit Super Bowl contender. At least they see themselves as that. Some people don't think that. It's probably not a universal thing. People just think that Washington's just like a team on the rise. But Bills, I think, are a consensus Super Bowl contender. And they're one of my picks to get to the Super Bowl. There's like 4 teams I think could get there this year. Bills are one of them. So I think the Bills are pretty good team, pretty solid team, honestly. All around, they're pretty good. And there's a lot going on in this game that I'm going to go over. So it has kind of the teacher versus the apprentice kind of thing. Sean Mcdermott, I think that's the coach of the Bills. I think it's McDermott. Used to be a defensive coordinator for Ron Rivera, I believe, and now he coaches the Bills. He's been coaching the Bills for a few years. They've had very good success since he's been there. He's actually, I think, he's a very solid coach. He's so you got a little bit of the teacher is the student is facing the teacher kind of thing. And I'm excited to see that matchup. I think Ron is excited to see the matchup. I think he's done a lot of things. He's like coached a lot of coaches and taught them a lot of things and how to run organizations and things like that. Gotta turn the volume down. There we go. Okay. All right. And so that's going on. Then we have our quarterback matchup, which I actually have oh, by the way, Taylor Heineke, not being sponsored by Heineken. I don't understand that one. Not very smart to me. Heineken, you have a guy literally with your name and you don't want to like sponsor him. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but Bud Light jumped on that. But I thought this was funny. Some fan made this Heineke. And I just thought it was hilarious. So I thought I'd share that with you all as well. Taylor Heineke. Okay. So here's the quarterback comparison. You have Washington has Taylor Heineke, obviously, who's only played pretty much 1.5 games. He hasn't played a full 2 games. But in 1.5 games, he has more passing yards already than Josh Allen. Josh Allen didn't really do too hot week 1 against Pittsburgh. But both of them have, like, it says 2 games, but it's 1.5 games. Taylor Heineke came in with like 7 minutes left to go in like the second quarter. So I wouldn't give him a full game on that. Completion percentage, very high for Taylor Heineke compared to Josh Allen. Passing attempts, 61 to 84. So on less passing attempts, he has more yards. That's incredible, actually. Pretty cool. I love to see that scaled up, like 80 attempts. What would Taylor Heineke have? 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's pretty straight across the board. Sacked 4 times, so maybe Josh Allen's had a little bit more pressure. That makes sense. He played Pittsburgh. And the Saints, so they 2 of the biggest sack getters in the league. Not the Saints. It wasn't the Saints, was it? No. Who did they play? No, Dolphins. There we go. Dolphins are not sack getters. They are actually they're more secondary, like get picks and stuff like that. Rushing yards, has a little more rushing yards. So I'd say it's about an even quarterback matchup when you look at stats, but I think Josh Allen is one of the premier passers in the league right now. He's taken huge steps over the last few years. Heineke literally is starting his 3rd game. I think it might be his 4th. I think he started 1 game with Carolina when he was with Ron. But his 3rd game with us, he's starting. And I'm excited about the Taylor Heinicke hype. I really am. If you're not excited about Taylor Heinicke hype, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're like. I don't know what you're doing. I really don't. Taylor Heinicke has been electric. He's been great. We haven't had that in a quarterback in years in Washington. Since like RG3. If you were excited about Kirk, you want to check your pulse, because that guy it's just. I'm sorry, I don't like Kirk. If you like Kirk, that's fine. I'm not going to really get into my tirade about Kirk Cousins. But the quarterback matchup, I think Washington's got a good chance when it comes to the quarterback matchup. We have good weapons. That's the thing that is helping out Taylor Heinicke a lot. And here's the thing as well, and I said this before, I think Taylor Heinicke kind of unlocks our offense. Last year we had pretty much the same weapons, but lesser. We didn't have Humphreys. We haven't played Curtis Samuel. We didn't have De'Ami Brown. With pretty much lesser weapons last year, Taylor Heinicke unlocked our offense, got 300 passing yards in the playoffs in one game, and got 2 touchdowns. I think he just unlocks the offense. I think that's the thing about Taylor Heinicke. He just knows how to run the offense, and he knows how to be explosive within the offense. That's what Taylor Heinicke does. So looking at the opposing quarterback, our defense really, really, really has to show up this week. If our defense shows up and lays a dud like it has been the last 2 weeks without getting any pressure or anything like that, and if we just get a little bit of pressure, we're going to have success. And the reason why I say that is we had a little bit of pressure against Justin Herbert, and we got 2 big turnovers that could have turned into some huge points and huge possibilities for us. All we had to do was get a little bit of pressure, and he throws a pick, and a little bit of pressure, and he forced the fumble out the back of the end zone. And those are 2 turnovers that, if we'd have scored a touchdown and a field goal on those, it'd have been, or 2 field goals, it'd have been enough to win the game. That's all we would have needed. Enough to win the game was 2 field goals. So, if we didn't even force a turnover against the Giants, and we still won. A turnover against the Giants would have been huge. That would have definitely swayed the game more in our favor. So we have to get pressure. We have to find a way to get pressure, whether that's by blitzing, whether that's by mixing up the scheme, whatever the case may be. We need to do something different than what we're doing. Because what we're doing, if we're just trying to play assignment football, either A, we're not playing assignment football properly. Okay, that's a possibility. I'm going to switch to the next graphic. I'll get to that here in a minute. Is there any more? Okay, stop. Okay. Sometimes if you play assignment football, it can kind of bite you, because it's just the assignment is go in your lane, and your lane just doesn't end up getting a sack. That's all there is to it. So either A, we're playing assignment football and it's just not working yet, and they're still working towards it, or B, a handful of players are playing assignment, a handful of players going off script. And honestly, I think a little bit of that's going off script. I think Montez Sweat and Young think they have to be playmakers, and they're trying to be playmakers. And the reason why I say that is, if you watch the Giants game, if you ever played football, I played defensive end in high school and in college. You have to play assignment football. Whenever the running play goes away from you, you're supposed to kind of trail through the backfield for a reverse, or you're supposed to actually trail in case the quarterback bootlegs. And Daniel Jones ran for 90 yards against us on 9 attempts. So he was bootlegging a lot, and or he was like pulling the ball and running on the read option. And we weren't playing assignment football. That's both Montez Sweat, it's Chase Young. Both of them need to be assignment oriented and play the game they're supposed to. Okay, we can't go with these big plays. Josh Allen is actually, I think, more athletic than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is actually pretty fast. But Josh Allen is a better runner. He's more equipped to run because he's bigger. And we have to make sure that we put ourselves in a position where we can handle that. We have to be able to contain, force him to hand the ball off. Our running defense has been stellar the last few weeks. Okay, our run defense has been fine. The problem is last week we got the field in 3rd downs. That was fine. The problem is we're just not getting pressure on the quarterback, so the teams are able to pick us apart. Any quarterback in the NFL, any starting level quarterback in the NFL, if you give someone time, they're going to find a way to pick you apart. Okay, they're going to find a way to pick you apart, and we have to be able to put pressure on Josh Allen. We got to be able to smother the run, and then put Josh Allen on his backside a lot. We don't have to sack him all the time, but if we just put pressure and make him throw the ball wild, We have guys in secondary that are pretty good, man. We really do. We have guys in secondary that have the ability, the capacity to make plays. We're, for the most part, we're doing pretty good coverage, other than one hugely busted play that didn't cost us against the Giants. So, yeah, if we just get pressure, that's really what we need. Jamin Davis last week was our highest rated defensive player because he got a lot of tackles, and he filled a lot of gaps. So he played pretty well. And I think he's growing. I think Benjamin St. Juste is growing too. I think there's a lot of things that we got to look forward to. I think if we start putting some of that stuff together this week, it's gonna pay dividends. Because here's the thing. Let's just say, hypothetically, Washington wins this game. Next week we have the Falcons, and I think we have a good chance of beating very good chance of beating the Falcons. They don't have a defense. And their offense, if you just make them one-dimensional, like, we're very good at making teams one-dimensional, but the problem is the dimension we're making them, it happens to be kind of a strength for them because we're just not getting pressure, so they're able to pick us apart. So we're doing like half the job very well. We have to do the other half well. Make teams one-dimensional, smother the run, make them pass. It plays into our pass rush, and then we got to have the pass rush part. We have to get that part. We have to get the part where we're actually getting the ball, we're getting to the quarterback, strip sacks, forced bad decisions, things like that. We have to be able to do that. As many first-round picks that we've invested in that starting defensive line, we have to. And as many good players as we have depth-wise on the defensive line, we have to. Okay? Moving on to the offense. I will say this again, and I got in an argument with an idiot, and I mean a freaking idiot yesterday. He's trying to say, like, make excuses for Scott Turner and his offensive coordinating. And, I mean, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to give this guy any kind of shine at all. He's a fucking idiot. For some reason, someone on my sometimes he posts things that are kind of, like, insightful. Pardon my French, by the way. I don't mean to cuss, but he's just a fucking idiot. And he said something along the lines of, he was, like, talking about, like, Scott Turner, a pick. And I was like, no, Scott Turner is a horrible offensive. He's not horrible, but he's made some dumb mistakes for whatever reason. For some reason, he has a running back right now that averages 4.8 yards a carry, and he only handed that running back the ball 13 times last Thursday. Now, some of you will make the argument like, hey, Gibson was coming off a shoulder injury, then maybe they want to give him the ball. That's fair. Then why didn't you hand it to your running back that's averaging 4.5 yards a carry and Jarrett Patterson? He didn't even touch the field last week. So why didn't you hand him the ball then? It's not about the fact that he didn't hand specifically Gibson the ball. It's about the fact that he doesn't want to have any kind of balance. I love Taylor Heinicke. I do. I think he's a fantastic addition to the team, and I'm glad he's getting his shot. As much as I was excited about Fitzpatrick, I'm more excited about Taylor Heinicke. Straight up. I'm 100% more excited about Taylor Heinicke than I am Fitzpatrick. But we're not going to win consistent games if he's throwing the ball 40-plus times a game. We can't win that way. Okay? As much as I like, maybe we can. Maybe I'm wrong in that regard. But I still think even if you want him to throw the ball 46 times a game, you should probably have a little more run-pass balance. Okay? Gibson was our leading rusher, and he had 13 rushes against the Giants. Okay? He had a little bit more rush against the Chargers, but my argument is that if it wasn't for that one fumble, he'd have been our MVP that game. He was the only consistent offensive player we had that game. And against the Giants, if we'd have had a little bit more time in possession, maybe we wouldn't have been in the spot where we throw a pick. So here's why his offensive coordinating is not great to me. In 2 games straight, if you look at the game against the Chargers, and I was there live, so I saw it, and you look at the game against Washington or against the Giants, the first 6 plays were 5 passes, 1 run. We have had an epidemic with this team over the last pretty much 2 years of not being able to score on opening drives. Okay? On opening drives, we have not been able to score on opening drives in over 2 years. In about 2 years. Okay? You want to know why that is? Because we're not coming out and establishing the run. You can't come out and play action from the get-go and think it's going to have a huge and massive impact on the defense. That's not how it works. You got to set up the play action. You can't just come out and play action right away and think the defense is going to react to it. Okay, it doesn't work that way. You have to set things up. You have to give them a visual cues that say, oh, this is a run, and so guys cheat up and guys go for the run, and then you pass on them. That's how you do it. That's how it works properly. And we're not doing that. First 6 plays, first 2 possessions, 3 possessions. First possession, 3 passes. Second possession, 1 pass. Second and 10, a run for like 2 yards. Or for nothing, I think is what it was. And then third down, pass, punt. Now, the third down pass, or third down play makes sense. Okay? But you're not establishing the run. You basically took the whole quarter and didn't hand the running back the ball at all. That basically was the entire first quarter. You didn't hand the running back the ball one time. You only hand him one time. He's too good a player to that. He's too good of an impact player to do that. So, and I got an argument with the guy. He's like, oh, all that matters is we won. I'm like, yeah, but how you win matters. Okay, that is such and I'm going to steal a term from J.P. Finley, Ashburn syndrome mentality, that you're going to win a game and you're going to sit there and rest on your laurels that you won the game, even though you won because the Giants fucked up 5 times. They straight up screwed up 5 or 6 times in the game. And that's the only reason we won. That's the only reason we won. If there's not some dumb hold, I think that was more of a officiating issue, honestly. But it wasn't a dumb hold on a receiver. Daniel Jones got a touchdown. There's 4 points. And if it wasn't a bad throw or a bad catch from what's his name, not Daniel Jones, Slayton. There's no 7 points. So you can't sit there and say that, you know, oh, we got to rest on our laurels because we did great. No, you have to correct what you did wrong and make sure going forward you don't do that. And one of those corrections needs to be the way Scott Turner calls the game. So, like, for example, I just went over what we did in the first 2 possessions. Okay, let's look at one of our last 2 possessions. The last possession I'm not going to go over because that was trying to get a field goal to win. But the possession before that, where we were up 1 point, we got the ball in our 10, and Gibson breaks off an 11-yard run on first down, and basically lets the defense know, like, hey, get out your keys, boys. We're on a drive. We're coming for you. And then the second play, another 4 yards. So on 2nd and 6, after 2 straight runs, we just crammed it down their freaking throat. He decides to throw the football. Not just throw the football, but throw the football right across the middle of the field. It doesn't make sense, man. It just doesn't make sense. If you run the ball there and you get stuffed, throw on 3rd down. Okay? Give yourself a chance. Or at least put yourself in a chance where Taylor Heinicke can run the ball or get on a rollout or something. But you just had him stand and stare down a receiver in the middle of the field. It's not smart. And he does this a lot. He does it a lot of the time. And he did it a little bit last year, but he got saved by the fact that we had a lot of excuses at quarterback, so he can make those excuses. There's no excuse, actually. Last year was more of a reason to run the ball heavily because we didn't have a solid quarterback play. We didn't have solid quarterback players. We had 4 different quarterbacks, so we had to keep it very basic. This year, I guess you have more of a right to throw this year than you did last year. But the tendencies he has needs to be corrected. It really does. Okay? I think he does do some things pretty well. I think he does set up guys, get guys open. I also think he needs to make sure Taylor Heinicke knows some reads. There's some guys wide open down the field for some things, and Taylor Heinicke, I don't know if he's just going off the read he was told or what. But we got to make sure we find those looks, and if the read needs changed, then change the read. Okay? Because guys were open deep. I'm not going to get the picture up. I'm not going to find it, but there's a picture of a lot of guys that were running right down the middle of the Giants' defense and in the heart of their defense, and we didn't find them. We still moved the ball pretty effectively, so I'm not going to complain about that, but we could have had a lot more big plays as well. We just didn't make the decisions, pull the trigger, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, I got in an argument with an idiot who's trying to justify, oh, it's okay, we won the game. No, it's not. We gotta fix what our issues are. Just like it's not okay the way our defense is playing. Is our defense okay the way it's playing? Hell no. Okay, are you going to accept that? Hell no. So they need to be under the same scrutiny that our defensive line is. Okay, straight up, our defensive line has not played that great when it comes to the pass rush. It hasn't. We need to make sure we hold them to the same standard is the best way to put it. So coaching staff needs to be able to look at themselves like, hey, what am I doing wrong? Oh yeah, I'm being an idiot, and I need to play. I need to run the ball more, especially when I got a running back here going 4.5 yards a carry. It really helps the quarterback. It helps the defense. It sustains drives. Giants game, we did not win time of possession. Okay, they had the ball more than us. Luckily, they made more mistakes than us, so that helped us out a lot. But we can't rely on that. We have to be the better team before the game starts. We have to be more prepared when the game starts. We have to be a better play calling team to put us in position that when the game is available for us to win, we can win it. And yeah, I'm preaching now. So all right. So here's what Washington has to do to win. Washington, first off, on offense, establish the run. Gibson needs to touch the ball 20 plus times, whether that's 20 runs and like 5 catches or whatever. Basically, we need to run the ball 25 times on purpose, not like scrambles. Okay, 25 times would be a solid number. There was actually a very interesting stat on Jay Gruden that every time Jay Gruden, his teams run the ball 25 times or more, they won. Every time. That's like one game they didn't win, and that was a game they tied, I think. Under Jay Gruden, that was the statistic that was like an anomaly that was like crazy to me. That every time a Jay Gruden coach team ran the ball 25 plus times a game, they won. And that was just incredible to me. That except for like the one they tied, I think they might have lost like one game, like a gigantic shootout or something. With Kirk Cousins, I don't doubt that. But I thought that was amazing to me. Like, wow, they really lost or won or really are like undefeated. If you don't know, I don't know how coaches don't know these stats. Okay, so I don't know. Like another stat by Jay Gruden, if he got more than 90 rushing yards, he usually won too. If he got more than 90 rushing yards, he won every game except one. And that was the one he tied. So sometimes I don't know. My thing is force the issue. There's not a trend like that with Ron Rivera's teams. Like we had 128 rushing yards with our running backs, not just our quarterbacks, with our running backs against the Chargers, and we lost that game. We got less than that. Like we got like 70 some yards, maybe 80 some yards against the Giants, and we ended up winning that game. So who am I to look at trends and think they matter? But I just know that if you got a quarterback who's an undrafted person who you want to have success, best thing you do for him is give him balance and put the ball in your best player's hands. Any smart team puts the ball in their best player's hands to win games. Josh Allen is going to throw Stephon Diggs. He's going to do it. Okay? He's going to. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are the two best players on that offense. Singletary and Zach Moss are okay, but those two are the reason the team's pretty decent. Okay? So let's get to this last slide I have here. It's a prediction. So I don't know where these predictions come from. I don't know any of these names. But all these guys are predicting the Bills to roll us pretty much. Only one really has like a blowout, and that's the Shook. But everyone else has a pretty close game. So I think it's going to be a close game as well. But I honestly think Washington can win this. Washington has to establish the run. They have to limit turnovers. They have to actually force a turnover or two. That's really I think it's actually necessary in this game because of the caliber of team we're playing. They have to get, I think at least 4 sacks needs to be done. The offensive line's shown they can't really protect Josh Allen. Damn, what does that smell? Someone's burning around, like some car is burning rubber. So, yeah. Washington has to be in a situation where they put themselves in a situation where they can run the ball consistently, they can throw when they have to, and they can shut down the other team's run and get after the pass rusher. If we do that, we're going to put ourselves in a very good position to win against a pretty good team. And this is a good measuring stick because, like I said, there's probably about 6 or 7 teams that really are Super Bowl contenders, but there's about 10 teams that believe they are. And the Bills definitely are one. They made it to the AFC Championship game last year, and I think they'll make it again this year and lose, and either beat or lose to the Browns. That's my prediction. I made a prediction at the beginning of the season. And it's a good way to gauge ourselves. All right. So this has been JD. This has been the Washington Football Report. I want to thank everyone for watching. If you're on the podcast, I apologize. I have a graphic up that shows 10 different people who are predicting the game. And all of them have predicted that the Bills will pretty much roll us. One has a prediction of like pretty much a blowout, like 26-13. The rest of them are within like 7 points. So it's a close game. All right. So that's my video. I want to thank everyone for listening and watching. Like I said, hit the subscribe button, comment down below, let me know what you think. And this is the Washington Football Report. Have a good one. See ya. Hell to the Redskins.